Mary had a little lamb.
From the classiest radio station on the air, this is...
To the Black Rabbit's Curse, where every shadow hides a sinister verse. Hear the airs that can tales of terror and tales of terror twist in your head into the dark unknown, where fear takes root and chills the bone. Beware, dear traveler, for once you're here, the curse may linger year after year.
Night Watch, Shaun and the Shadow in the Warehouse. For Shaun, the night shift was quiet. A lonely warehouse, endless corridors, and his only companion, a clever raccoon named Rocket. But one fateful night, Shaun would discover that not every shadow belongs to something he can explain. Shaun had worked as a night guard at an old warehouse for years. It was a place no one wanted to work, not because of the danger, but because of the stories. Employees claimed they had seen shadows moving where they shouldn't be any and heard whispers in the dead of the night. Shaun didn't believe any of it. He had his routine, his flashlight, and Rocket, his mischievous raccoon companion. Rocket had a knack for keeping Shaun entertained during the long, lonely shifts. The raccoon would dart around the warehouse, chasing mice, thriftling through forgotten storage boxes. But Rocket also had a keen sense of danger, something Shaun had come to trust. One night, the shift started like any other. Shaun sipped his coffee, glanced at the security monitors. Rows of cold metal shelves stretched into the distance. The camera feed silent, uneventful. Rocket sat on the desk, gnawing at a leftover sandwich. But then Rocket froze, his ears twitched, and he let out a low growl. "Easy, buddy," Shaun said, patting the raccoon. But Rocket's eyes were fixed on a far corner of the warehouse, where the shadows seemed darker than usual. Shaun grabbed his flashlight, reluctantly stepped into the maze of shelves. Rocket followed close behind, his claws clicking softly on the concrete floor. The warehouse was silent except for a faint hum of the fluorescent lights. As Shaun moved deeper into the shadows, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. "Hello?" Shaun called, his voice echoing. "Anybody there?" Then he heard it. A faint scratching sound coming from one of the storage racks. Shaun shined his light towards the noise, but the beam seemed to falter, swallowed by the oppressive darkness. Rocket hissed and darted up onto Shaun's shoulder, his fur bristling. Shaun tightened his grip on the flashlight, trying to steady his breathing. "Probably just a rat," he murmured, but even he didn't believe it. The scratching grew louder, then stopped abruptly. Shaun turned a corner and froze. There, in the beam of his light, stood a figure. At first, it looked like a man, but as the light hit it, the figure shifted. Its limbs too long, its face obscured by the darkness that seemed to ripple like smoke, its crooked, its head, and Shaun felt icy chill wash over him. Rocket let out a screech and jumped off Shaun's shoulder, charging at the figure. But before he reached it, the shadow moved. It dissolved into the darkness, disappearing as if it had never been there. "Rocket!" Shaun shouted, running after his raccoon. He turned the corner, but Rocket was gone. "Rocket, come on, buddy." Shaun called, his voice trembling. The scratching grew louder, echoing around him, and then he heard a voice, a low, disordered whisper that made his skin crawl.
Why are you here?
Shaun spun around, shining his light wildly. The shadowy figure reappeared, but now it was closer. Its face, or what should have been its face, began to emerge from the darkness. It was dark, a void where eyes, a nose, and a mouth should be. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once.
You don't belong here.
Shaun turned and ran, his boots slamming against the concrete as he called Rocket. Suddenly, Rocket appeared from behind the stacks of crates, but something was wrong. His fur matted, and his usual bright eyes were dull, almost lifeless. "Rocket?" Shaun whispered, kneeling. The raccoon hissed, but it didn't sound like Rocket. The voice deeper, grunted, as if something was using Rocket's body. Behind Shaun, the figure's shadow stretched along the wall, impossibly tall and bending towards him. Rocket lunged at Shaun, forcing him to stumble backwards. He hit the ground hard, the flashlight rolling out of his hand and plunging into the warehouse into darkness. Shaun's breath came in short gasps. As he scrambled to grab the light, he turned it on just in time to see Rocket standing still, staring at him, and the shadowy figure looming over them both. The whispers grew defending, and Shaun's vision blurred as the darkness seemed to wrap around him, pulling him into the cold embrace. The last thing he saw was Rocket, a small frame consumed by the shadow, and his eyes glowed faintly red before everything went black. The next morning, the warehouse was empty and Shaun was never seen again, but the employees who came in after him swear they still hear a faint scratching in the shadows and sometimes a distant hiss of a raccoon that no longer exists.
Heart still racing, eyes wide open. Remember, the terror doesn't end when the video does. You may try to forget, but the shadows have a way of following. The whispers grow louder each night, don't they? So go ahead, close your eyes, if you dare. But know this, you're not alone. Not anymore. But the Black Rabbit's curse has seen you, and it's waiting. So what happens when the lights go out? If you want to find out, make sure you come back. But next time, will you be ready? Sleep well. Or don't.